So just regular conversation. I'm not even gonna do like an intro or anything.
Okay. Sure.
Just well, as far as like welcome
We're
to
speed guests.
Okay, cool.
Just come grab me if you need anything, or
Okay,
when you
cool.
want to stop, or just
Perfect.
come out here. We'll run in. Thank you.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
All right, enjoy.
Awesome, guys. So we have Cesar Reyes here, who is the managing broker at Megastar Realty. He's been in the game for a long time, honestly, legend in the game. And so it's a real privilege to have him here and be able to pick his brain a little bit. So, Cesar, welcome to the podcast, man.
Ruben, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share some of my experiences and just chat it up with you. So
Dope. So I know you've been doing this for a long time, right? Early 90s is when you got into real estate.
Not early 90s, I would say. I got licensed 1998. I think I had just turned 20 years old. So I think it's now, 25, 26 years in. So it's been a nice ride, nice journey.
That's awesome, man. What motivated you to get your real estate license to get into the industry?
I don't know if it was motivation, but it was kind of more or less trying to get my mom off my back pretty much. I went to a really good private school in Southwest Denver called Colorado Academy, where a lot of the students, go to good schools afterwards. And I decided to stay in town and go to CU Denver. And I went the first 2 days to school, and after that, I pretty much never went back. I was living with my brother. We kind of stayed at our childhood home. My parents that summer that I graduated bought a nice home in Aurora, and they wanted us to move over there, and we decided to just stay at our childhood home, pay them rent. So our parents were our landlord, but we decided to just party, have fun. And I just remember the second day that I went to school, I had all this homework to do, and my brother was like, "Hey man, we got some friends coming over and to party, to drink, play some drinking games," and he's like, "You want to do your homework or you want to have fun?" I was like, "No, I want to have fun." So pretty much I was kind of in the mindset of just having fun and living paycheck to paycheck. After 5-6 months, I never told my mom or parents, because they weren't living with us, that I had basically not gone back to school. And they got notification from CU Denver that I was actually pretty much dropped out, or just never went back. So they were pretty devastated, because the school I went to in high school was a really, really good school. So any parent that, worked hard, they had three jobs, both of them, 2-3 jobs all the time. And, all they cared about for us is having good education. And, when they saw that I didn't go to school, it was pretty devastating for both of them. So it just kind of came to the point where I wanted to, my mom, through one of my aunts, she recommended us, my brother and I, to get into real estate. So it was just kind of the only thing that I figured I could do to kind of keep my mom at bay, not stop bothering me so much. I was working at MCI Telecommunications, which is was a long distance carrier back then. It was called MCI WorldCom, and I worked for the Spanish division. I was taking inbound calls, and I remember I hated that job because I had to go in at 6 in the morning, 2:30, and be out by 2:30, 3 o'clock, and it would frustrate me that I was told when I had to be in and when I could be done, when to take my breaks, and I didn't like that. I always wanted to run my own business, kind of work when I wanted to work. If I wanted to take a day off, things like that. And I knew that I didn't want to work for a corporate company. That was always in my head. I knew I wanted to be a business owner at some point. So
where do you think that comes from?
I think that comes from my family, because I have a few uncles and aunts, and even my parents too. They always had businesses. We were heavy into the maintenance business, janitorial business, and so I think even myself, when I came to this country when I was 4 years old, I couldn't go to school right off the bat. I wasn't in kindergarten, so my mom would take me to go clean houses with her when I was 4 years old. Some of my earliest memories are cleaning houses with my mom, and some of the things that I remember, one time we were heading to a house to clean, and my mom took us in her bicycle, and I was sitting in the handlebar pretty much, and we were riding down, I think it was Holly Avenue here in Denver, and we made a left turn, and we just slid on these rocks. I fell, I scraped my leg, I started crying. I thought my mom was like, "Oh, let's go back home." She got me back up. She's like, "Get back on the bike," and we went to the job. And so it was a job to do. And so I think those are some of like my earliest memories of like working was always part of like what we were doing. And even like when we were like in middle school, my parents had a cleaning contract at this building on Grant Street, which was a government building, and we did 3 floors there. We cleaned. My mom did all the bathrooms. My dad did all the trash, and my brother and I would do all the vacuuming. But we were like a team, and I'd always tell my parents, I'm like, man, like why are we working? We're like 8 years old, 9 years old, and why you take us to work? I was like, my friend, we had our childhood friend, and his name was Greg. I was like, Greg's parents don't make him work, and my dad was like, I don't care. He was like, he's not my son. You guys are my son. You're gonna work with us.
Was it because of necessity? Like obviously they came to this country, right?
Yeah, well, it was part of necessity too, but I think at the same time, I mean, they saw it as they if they took us to work, that janitorial job at night cleaning office buildings, that obviously we could finish, instead of them going by themselves and they finish in 2.5 hours or 2 hours. Yeah, we were done in and out in 45 minutes. Yeah. So I mean, and it was free labor. So I get why they were doing it, but at the end, I remember I always complained about it. I didn't like it. Yeah. But I think looking back, like it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about work ethic and starting early and finishing a job. And it taught me a lot about teamwork, because I didn't like cleaning bathrooms, but my mom took care of the bathrooms. My dad took care of the trash, and back then people could smoke in their office buildings, so he'd take care of like all the ashtrays that smelled like smoke and clean those out. And my brother and I started at the 3rd floor vacuuming. My brother would start at the 1st floor, and then we would meet in the 2nd floor, and so it was teamwork. Like we were in and out in 45 minutes. So I think that's like one of the first things that I remember about working as a team, working together with other people, and kind of working to your strengths.
So yeah, you obviously got the work ethic from the family, and based on where you come from, where they come from, the situation growing up, and it just sounded like they were very entrepreneurial from the beginning, and they just kind of instilled in you hard work, and this is how it's done. And in that process, you learn teamwork and many other lessons as well. Yeah. So, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced and opportunities that you faced as a new real estate agent in the late 90s?
So, like in the late 90s, like one of the challenges that I felt that I encountered was, I was 20 when I got my license, and I looked so young, and I think, when you start in real estate, typically you're starting working with first-time home buyers, and that's the biggest decision that a lot of customers, clients are making, is buying their first house. And so one of the things that I knew that set me back was that I looked so young. I remember my first 2 closings I would go to, and I'd sit at the closing table. The title company would come in. They're like, "Hey, where's the realtor?" I'm like, "Yo, yeah, I'm right here." They're like, "No, you're not the realtor." And so what I had to do is I had to dress the part too. So basically, I remember I had back then, I had my little mustache. I had the earrings on my right ear, my left ear, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Now it's a lot different, but I took all that out as soon as I got my license. I took my earrings out. Took my gold chains out, I had a little cross hoop earring here on my left ear. All that went away as soon as I got my license, and then I would actually wear slacks and dress shoes and ties and a suit, and just because I knew that I was at a disadvantage because I was so young. And I think that was probably some of the challenges that I encountered too. Also, like nowadays in real estate, you have people that are entering, 18, 19, 20, and you have a lot of young people with social media and out there, and there was no social media in late 90s. And so I felt like the more successful real estate agents were people that were already in the business a long time, 20, 25 years, 30 years in the business. And it's crazy because I was a buyer's agent, and I was always like working on weekends, showing houses, driving around, and I'm not gonna lie, it was like I was in my 20s, early 20s. I was partying, having a great time, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I'd be tired and hungover sometimes, driving around. And my thinking was always like, man, one day, I want to be a listing agent. Like I want to have listings and listings and listings because I don't want to work weekends, or I want to have REO properties, which are bank-owned properties. And so that was always my goal, to become like a really well-versed, experienced, productive listing agent. And so that was always what I was kind of working towards, that I wanted to kind of moved from being just a buyer's agent to a listing agent. And obviously, you go through different cycles, different things that happen in your career where you kind of go back to some of your roots. But I think, those are some of the challenges that I encountered. And obviously too, I didn't know all the rules, regulations, laws, because, things change, and the other thing too is back then we didn't have like CTME software where you can get things signed electronically.
You had to drive.
And some of these Latino clients I was working with, they would have 2-3 jobs, and I'm going to their houses at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night just to get signatures. And I remember I had this girlfriend once, man, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm here at this client's house at 8:30 at night." You think I'm dumb? You think I'm, you're showing houses at 9 o'clock at night? It's dark.
Was she Latina?
Yeah, she was Latina. Yeah. So, it was, I was like, no, but I'm getting a signature. You understand? I got to get a signature on this amendment. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where, like, now I feel like it's a lot easier, with certain paperwork and the electronic contracts that we have. So definitely. And then, even with the RE Colorado, just how there's so many pictures of the houses, like clients are telling you what they want to look at. You just kind of set up the showing. And
how that used to work back in the day.
So I remember we had the dial-up called the Hyper Terminal, and it was connected through your phone line. And so I just always remember you dial in, and they give you this beeping sound, beep, and then once you're in, but it was always like commands pretty much. Like you would tell them, I'm looking for residential, Denver Northeast, 80239, minimum 3 bedrooms, minimum, and then it would give you a list, and all of it was just numbers and letters, And so there was also a real estate book, but I never got that. But there was no pictures. So
that's insane,
to me,
man.
when pictures started coming in, it was just so different, But at first, you would only get pictures of the front of the house. And then towards, once the technology got better, you started seeing, 4 or 5 pictures. Now you see up to like 50 pictures, of a house. Like you can see the whole house pretty much just online with all the other applications there are.
We have it easy these days, right?
Well, I mean, yes, in the sense of like with technology, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, I think there's a lot more competition too. One of the things that I see too is I think it's a lot easier for an agent to get their license now and succeed, whereas before, like you really had to pay your dues. Like you didn't become, a listing agent right off the bat where you're closing 20, 30, 40 listings a year or doing that many transactions. It takes time to kind of get into that role, So, but it is a lot easier now with some of the technology that's around for sure, I would say.
What do you think are some of the challenges that agents face in today's market?
Well, obviously, the rates have affected the market. When the rates are really good, I mean, everyone's a really good agent because the business is just easy.
Yeah.
They just keep coming.
Right.
You don't have to do much. And I think, sometimes people will get into real estate thinking that they just have to post a few pictures, they do a little social media, and the business will come.
Yeah.
But I think, if you can throw in some of that old school ways of doing things too, and the new school, I think you'll have a better chance of succeeding. I because I was on MCI Telecommunications, like I knew that I could make calls or I can take a lot of phone calls coming in. And so I think, it's great to do social media because you can definitely grow your business through social media. It's the marketing, the media of today. But at the same time, there's other things that you can also do that I still incorporate in my prospecting side of the business. So, it's not definitely things have changed in the last couple months or years. There's definitely a lot more competition. There's a lot of people out there, but I say don't worry about the competition. Worry about what you do on a daily basis. And that's what I kind of focus on is what I do daily. As long as I know that I'm being productive, consistent. I mean, there's days or even weeks, man, where I feel like I'm laying an egg, man, where I'm not getting anything, And then all of a sudden,
that's entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
There's gonna be days where you feel like you're on top of the world, and days where you feel like nothing's working.
It's exactly true.
So, I mean, it sounds like the biggest challenge that you think and you see in today's market is all the competition. It seems like everybody wants to be a real estate agent. Everybody wants to get their license. However, it's I feel like what you're saying is that if you could blend in the new technology, the new tools that we have today with the old school way of getting business, then you could essentially guarantee your success in today's real estate market.
Yeah, I mean, and some people, I'll tell you, will say, hey, all you need to do is social media, which is true. There's some people that can do just social media and they'll succeed. But I'm just at a situation where I still do some of my old school stuff, which is my direct mail. I still do cold calling. I'm doing text messaging, which is not necessarily old school. It's kind of in between old school and new school. So I'm still doing some of that. And I'm doing the door knocking as well. But and I do a little bit of social media as well through Instagram or Facebook. So I am trying to incorporate some of the social media into my business. Just I'm a little more private. I don't really like being out there all the time. But I know that if I'm not, then I'm a dinosaur. I'm extinct. Because I remember one year like come around December time. Must have been like December 2022 and. Had one of my real estate buddies. She's at a different brokerage, and I remember I stopped posting for like a month. I didn't post any stories or anything. She hit me up in January, and she's like, "Hey, are you still selling real estate?" And I was like, "Whoa, what do you mean? Like I'm always closing 3-4 deals a month.
I'm a
like,
legend.
So
I'm
like,
a legend.
What do you
out
mean?
Here in
What do you
Denver.
mean I'm not selling real estate? Well, she's like, "You haven't posted anything." And so, and that's kind of where you kind of realize the power of social media too. I remember back in 2016, I opened up my first Facebook business page, and actually I didn't open it up. It was my sister who actually opened it up for me, and she had actually gotten her license, and I'm like, hey, go ahead and open up your own social media page. And she was like, no, I'm doing it for you. I was like, really? And then she's like, yeah, I'm gonna use this picture from, it was like her wedding. She had a wedding, and so she took pictures for all the people in her wedding. I was part of her wedding, and so she used that picture from her wedding as my profile picture. And I was like, I don't even like that picture, but go ahead, do what you want to do. And so
is that the one you still have on Facebook?
Yeah. Not that one. It's on my Facebook team page.
Oh, okay.
And it was funny because she created the page, and then as we started putting more listings, because that's kind of what I focused on. I'd have people I'd see at family get-togethers. Hey man, you're selling real estate. Hey, you're doing well. And I'm like, I kind of didn't want people knowing like how many houses I'm selling and all that, because I'm super private. But then at the same time, I know that it's proof. It's proof that hey, this guy's actually closing deals. There's a reason he's closing deals.
Yeah.
And then I remember one time we had this fix and flip client, and we had used our social media pages to advertise our properties too. And I remember I was running late, so I had to go to happy hour, and I finished entering her property into the MLS, and we got that done. And I was like, boom, I'm done. I uploaded the pictures, got the MLS input in. It's live. And I head out, and she calls me, and she's like, hey, why is the property not live? I was like, yeah, it's already live on the MLS. She's like, no. She's like, it's not on Facebook. I was like, well, who cares about Facebook? She's like, I do. She's like, I want it on Facebook so that I can so I can share it. So I can share it to all my friends so I can see my fix and flip. And I was like, oh man. So I had to stop and kind of get on my phone and do it through my phone and upload some pictures and get her little post going so that she can actually share it. And so that's kind of when I started seeing the power of social media. And I think in this business, you always got to be reinventing yourself, adapting to some of the changes, because I think even now, like I'm making some changes in my business right now, currently as we speak, that you would tell me 2-3 years ago that I'll be like, nah, I'm not doing that. There's no way.
Yeah. Well, good for you, because I feel like there's a lot of agents in your position that have been doing this for a long time and have proven ways of success. They've been doing this, they know what to do, they have their systems, they have their processes, and they're not open to seeing how the new technology or the new ways are really helping, especially the newer agents. Yeah. And I think that what's happening right now in the real estate industry is that a lot of these newer agents are really taking like a big share of the market based on what they're doing with social media. I think that a lot of the older agents, I don't think they're ready for that, especially the ones that don't adapt. So kudos to you for adapting and making some changes in your business.
No, I think I've been punched in the face, slapped in the face a few times, especially when you see a client that, that maybe you've helped out once or twice or 3 times, and then you see them, buying a house or selling their house with a brand
some
new
young
agent.
guy that just got
or
license.
someone that's 1 year in the business. And not to mean that I'm a better agent or not, but when you do have a certain amount of transactions in your belt, you feel like you're probably a little bit more experienced and knowledgeable.
Well, you've seen more
But
transactions. You've
yeah,
seen,
so it's like, if you're gonna get knee surgery, do you want the doctor who's done thousands of knee surgeries, or do you want one that's done 3 or 4?
No, I want the expert.
So those are the kind of things, but it is the reality of today. So I think
Perception is reality.
Yeah, I'm always willing to make that change or adapt my business and to what's going on in the market.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that, saying that perception is reality when it comes to that, knowing that some agents make it seem like they're super busy, they're selling like 3-4 properties a year, and there's seasoned agents that are behind. I personally know an agent that posts nothing on social media, and he makes more than maybe 1.5 million in GCI a year.
Yeah.
So how does that make you feel, being that you're seeing all these agents act like they're busy, and perception is reality on social media?
Yeah, I mean that happens a lot. I know a few agents too who don't do much on social media, and they're doing over $1 million. And I mean, I think there's always going to be rules to exceptions. Some exceptions to the rules, and I see that on just a few situations. But I think if you want to take your best shot at it, you definitely got to be on social media, especially if you're younger and that you're good with technology. I think I'm one of those people that are kind of like old school, and I had to learn a lot of these apps and how to use them. And I think what's helped me out too is I'm always open to going to like classes that are provided, like video classes, any type of class that's out there. I like going to it because I want to learn. I want to learn more. I don't feel like I know enough, and I feel like there's always that possibility of learning more. But there is definitely there's a lot of agents who will post things or luxury homes that aren't even their listings, but people think, hey, this guy is actually selling that property. They don't look at the whole the caption. They don't look at all the things where they're giving credit to the listing agent. They're just seeing that individual at a nice luxury home, and sooner or later they might get a call from that. So I think it's important. I think as long as you're putting in the work and just trying to put yourself out there, I think eventually business will come.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. That's essentially what you're supporting at Megastar, right? A lot of the agents that are there are younger, or maybe they've been in the game for a while, but everybody seems like they're really focusing on the personal brand and the social media and stuff like that, which is really cool to see. And I agree with you, like, what's most important is you putting yourself out there, and you making it seem like whatever, because at the end of the day, you want to get business, and it doesn't matter what other people think. And I think that's a big area of opportunity when it comes to social media and newer agents. Yeah,
so like just kind of put things in perspective. Like I had some of my agents that have been with me for a while and were top producing agents at our brokerage. They were number 1, 2, or 3 producing like in 2021 and 22. But like starting last year, our number 2, 3, and 4 producer were actually agents who were newer in the business and who were heavy on social media. So they just leapfrog some of the more experienced agents who definitely have more transactions under their belt. But then I just started seeing this shift, and to me that was the proof. That was the proof there. I saw, I was like, man, this agent only has 1.5 years, 2 years in the business, and I have this other agent who's 7 years in the business, who's been producing consistently for a long time, but they just got leapfrogged. They just got passed by. And the difference is this other agent is on social media. And that doesn't mean that the agent on social media is a better agent or not. It just means that they got more business because of their presence on social media.
Well, they have more attention from the market, right? And that's what matters.
And the thing about it is, like, it's free.
Yeah.
Obviously you can buy Facebook ads or Instagram ads, and that'll cost you, but for the most part it's free. I mean, what you're posting there is free, and you can grow your audience too, and I think that helps you out a lot too. Just to kind of put things in perspective, I've seen, like myself too, like last week I was actually door knocking, and I did get a listing appointment, and then I did get another appointment through texting too. But I had a friend post something, and they're not really that experienced at what they were posting about, but they just posted it on their social media, and they got an appointment, for something that I specialize in, and I'm here driving, spending gas, time.
That must suck. That must kind of hurt you.
And so not that it hurt me, but it put things in perspective. Like I'm spending hours,
time, energy,
gas. And obviously the risk too of being out in the field, always there's a risk to it, with accidents, snow, and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm used to it, so I'm fine with it. And then I see somebody spend like an hour, post something on social media, and then boom, they get an appointment for the same type of appointment that I'm trying to get, which was foreclosures.
Yeah.
And that just kind of shows you like the power of social media.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think I have a love-hate relationship with that, because at the same time, I think that as professionals, we have to really know what we're talking about. We really have to invest in what it is that we're doing. And I feel like a lot of agents, especially within our culture, if you will, and I don't know if I'm going to be maybe a little controversial with this, but I feel like a lot of people don't spend the right time constantly learning and growing to provide the best service for the community as possible. But there are, however, on the flip side, I feel like a lot of agents that really do that, and they've been doing it for a long time, and they provide the best quality service for the clientele. But I think that's where my love-hate relationship comes in, because sometimes I feel like you do have to be careful or mindful about what it is that you're putting out there.
I just think sometimes people are just fishing. They're fishing and they're throwing things out there, and some's gotta land,
stick.
So
it's only a matter of time.
That's how it is.
For sure. So I'd like to touch on something that you touched on earlier, about your privacy. You like to be private. I'm the same way. If I could have it my way, I wouldn't want to put anything on social media, and I've had a constant battle between, how much do I want to show, how much do I want to express. So tell me more about that. Where does that come from, like you wanting to stay private, and how important is it to you for you to not overshare?
So for me, I think it starts back to when I was a little kid. I was like, my brother was a year and a half older than me, and he was like always the more outgoing one, the one that kind of all the family, older cousins and all, like he was like funnier, he was more outgoing, and I was always super shy. And then even when I got to school, even in high school, I was always the kid in the back of the classroom, just didn't say much, just super quiet, always paid attention, always was super respectful with the teachers and all the other students. So I was always very private, just pretty much a private person. I wasn't the one that wanted to always be out there partying when I was a little teenager. I just wanted to kind of play sports, do enough in school to get by. Make sure that my parents, love me, and were happy about some of the things that I was doing. And then when I got into real estate, there was no social media back then. And so I didn't really have to express how many closings I had or what I was doing. But now it's like, if you go out there and post, that you had 5 or 6 closings that month, people are doing some math in their head, and so I think, for me, it's always been like, I don't like sharing too much about myself. I don't want to post a lot.
Have you had a lot of people pocket watch you and wonder how much money you make, and
I've
ask you for money?
Yeah, I've had that happen a lot, where people are asking me lend them money, or hey, you had a great month last month, so you're doing well, and so things of that nature. But or they're seeing how many agents now the brokerage has, because we, I think in 2017 we're like 3 of us, so it's grown. So I just been kind of more, I think it's more has to do with my personality, that I'm super laid back, I'm super private. I don't like, even when I go on vacations and stuff, I don't post a lot of pictures or do a lot of stuff like that. I'll throw in a couple things here and there with my daughters, with my family, but in the long run, like in general, like I'm not really posting a lot, just because I'm private. I think some of the things, some of the experiences, the memories can be for my loved ones and can be for people that I want to share it with. I don't want everybody to see it, but at the same time though, I can't just post about real estate. I can't just post houses, closings. Look at me, prospect. I gotta throw in a little bit of, my personality, a little bit of who I am. And so I think I've kind of grown into that a little bit. But if I could have it my way too, I wouldn't post anything about my business, but at the end of the day, that's not how you do business in 2024. And you and I know that. So, I mean, I think I've come to accept that. I don't think Megastar Realty, the brokerage, would have grown to the amount of agents it has right now with me not posting anything, because I think some of the proof is in some of the results that I've had. So I definitely think that's helped us grow.
Absolutely, 100%. Have you ever experienced any fraud situations within your career, or people trying to blackmail you?
So I think in the early 2000s, and this will be like a lot of agents who worked in those years, early 2000s, middle 2000s, there's a lot of fraud going out on the mortgage side and also in the real estate side. And I think a lot of us did get to experience some type of fraud, whether we heard about somebody or one of our clients worked with a mortgage company that was doing things that they weren't supposed to do. And I think it was a time where a lot of things were going on. I saw some appraisal fraud, I saw some mortgage fraud, where people whiting out Social Security, things on credit reports, buying with their kids' Social Security numbers or names.
Well, loose lending, right? Essentially, what caused the Great Recession.
Yeah. So I mean, you saw a lot of that, I think, and I really tried to stay away from things of that nature because my thought process was always like, look, there's some people that can come into the business and they do things illegally and they're gonna make money. I mean, they're gonna make money quickly, but they're not going to be in the business for a long, long time, and I always picture myself like when I'm 50, 60, 65, I still want to be selling real estate in some type of capacity. And so, I always figured that I want to be in this business for the long run. And, I remember I had a little training at my office, and I had this mortgage guy come in from a company that was doing a lot of loans to the Latino community, but I had kind of heard what they were doing, and he kind of started talking stuff to me, saying, "Hey, you only sell 4 or 5 houses a month, and you've been in the business, back then like 6-7 years, and we've been in the business a year and a half, and we're doing X amount of loans, and blah blah blah, just talking stuff, And so I basically told him, I was like, "Look, man," I was like, "in a year and a half, you ain't gonna be in business." And he's like, "Stop hating, stop being a hater." I was like, "No, I'm not a hater." Because of what you're doing and the way you're going about it, it's just not the right way to do it. And eventually, it's going to catch up to you. And eventually, this business, this market, people are going to start talking, and then you're not going to be in this business. I'm happy closing 3-4 deals a month. I live well with 3 or 4 deals a month and consistently. So, I'll take that over not being able to sleep, taking money from people that, our own community. I think, and sometimes it's obvious, some people that are actually just care about themselves. And, I want to be in this business for a long time. And I like what I do. I love this business. So I don't want to do like any disservice to the community, because that's first and foremost is what we're here to do is serve our community.
100%. Yeah, 3-4 deals, but you get to live with integrity and sleep with peace of mind.
Yes.
And I think that's priceless.
Yes.
So obviously we touched on the Great Recession a little bit, what caused the downturn of 2008. How did you personally and professionally adapt to the challenges that market brought out?
Yeah, so, man, I remember exactly when 2008 happened. I would stay late up watching CNN and looking at all these companies, just tank, fall. And then I always said, man, if Countrywide goes down, man, this is bad. Because Countrywide was one of the biggest servicers of mortgages back then. And sure enough, they went down too. What kind of helped me stay in the market was beforehand, like starting 2002-ish, I started doing short sales. So these were people already who were behind on their mortgage. And so when the bubble hit, we saw it earlier because I was already working that sector of the business. So I saw it like in 2007 what was going to happen. And so I started working a lot with short sales. So I started representing a lot of sellers who were behind on their payments and also were upside down. So I started negotiating with the banks, and that's all I would do. I would come into the office at 7:30. I had about 10 to 12 files at any given time, and I would just go file after file after file after file. Once I was done with one file, throw it on the floor and move on. And that's all I was doing every day. And I would start my calls at 7:30 in the morning because most of the banks were in the East Coast. So because if you got in like at 10:30, boom, you're calling, you're behind, man. These guys are at lunch. Yep. They're not going to see your stuff till the next day. And I was on it. I had a package for Bank of America, for Countrywide, for all these banks. And because you had to submit a whole package. And then I got into REO listings, which were bank-owned listings. And that really kind of helped me get into, getting into the fix and flip with the investors. But I started doing like cash for keys programs where the banks would hire me to go to a specific property that was foreclosed on, and whether it was a tenant there or the previous owner, I would have to go in there and say, hey, the bank's taking possession of this, we'll let you get out, we'll give you some money if you can get out, by a certain time, and so I remember one deal they had moved everything except for some vehicles in the backyard, and I had to give them like $1,500. But if I gave them the $1,500 and that vehicle was still there, guess whose responsibility was going to be for me to get that vehicle out? It's going to be my responsibility, because then I told the bank that everything's out. So I did a lot of the cash for keys program. So basically what happened is I started doing a lot of short sales and REO listings, and that helped me stay in the real estate game. If it wasn't for that, I would have been probably out of the real estate business, because that's what a lot of the properties were bank owned. They were short sales, and if you didn't know how to do them, you're going to struggle, and so I learned how to do those, and those were listings. So I was getting the experience I wanted to eventually with listings, but it wasn't like the normal way, not like a seller who has a lot of equity. I was getting the experience through people who were defaulting on their mortgages, which probably isn't the juiciest way or the prettiest way to get into the listing side of the business. But that's how I got in, was working with these short sales, working with the REO banks. But I really love working with the REO banks because, think about it. It's like you have your normal book of business, people who are buying houses, people who maybe are getting divorced, who have to sell, short sales. But then you got like 2 listings coming every month from the banks, and so it was like nice to have that extra income, and so I really, really, really enjoyed my time working with the banks. And actually now I still work with 2 REO banks right now, asset management companies that I've sold some REO properties this year. So it entitles a little bit more work, but at the end of the day, you're still selling an asset. It's just not a specific seller. It's more like you're dealing with an asset management company. So there's different ways that things kind of go through their flow. Like they don't respond immediately. You have to do everything online too. And then one of the things I didn't like about that is you have to do some broker price opinions, what are called BPOs. And so those sometimes can take a little bit of time. You're taking about maybe like 3-4 hours sometimes to complete a full BPO, broker price opinion. Basically, it's just like an appraisal, but from a broker. But you're uploading pictures of the comps. You're doing adjustments for if it has a garage or if it doesn't have a garage. You're putting your as-is value. You're basically kind of doing like an appraisal, and it just takes. But you have to do those in order to get the listings.
Well, that taught you how to price properties, right?
Yeah, make adjustments and all that. And so, I like doing that kind of work because it's different.
Do you think that type of work, you'll ever use that skill set again?
I'm using it right now. I actually did a BPO like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
I had an REO asset that I sold 4 months ago, and then I had 2 other REO assets that I sold this year from a different bank. And then that same bank, I did 2 REO assets for them last year. And so all this was through my lead generating through foreclosures. And it's just, I think at this point, what I tell people is you got to be proactive. Yeah. And the way I got this bank was funny because I actually had door knocked a house in West Denver in the Barnum area. And, they eventually called me. They got my flyer, had an appointment with them. They had 2 houses that were tied to one deed of trust. So because the value of one of the house wasn't sufficient. And so this family owned 2 properties nearby. And when I sat down with them, they just kept talking stuff about the bank that owned the note. And I thought it was like a Wells Fargo or a Chase or something like that. And they were like, nah, it's some guy. It's an individual. It's a small bank. And I was like, well, give me his number. I just want to verify, that you guys do owe him money or something like that. So they gave me his number. And sure enough, I called him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, they owe me X amount of money. They're behind. They keep lying to me. They say they're gonna get current. They never pay. They pay a little bit. I'm tired of them." So, anyways, this dragged on another 3-4 months. I kept in contact with the family, and then like I think 1 or 2 days before foreclosure, I was like, "Hey, like, it's gonna go to foreclosure. I offered you cash. I offered you to list it. You're gonna lose the house." And they just kept talking stuff about the bank. They're gonna sue the bank, whatever. So I checked back a week later, and they actually they got foreclosed on. And the only reason I checked back is because 2 of my agents asked me to have them teach me how to have them search some foreclosure stuff in Denver County. And as I'm doing that, I saw that it went to auction. And so that's when like something popped in my head. I was like, I actually have the asset manager's number. So then I called the asset manager, and he's like, "Yeah, I foreclosed on them, and I'm gonna get this property listed with my agent." I was like, wait. I was like, "That's gonna be me." And he's like, no, I already have my agent. I was like, "Yeah, but that's a heavy Latino area. I speak English and Spanish. Plus, the house needs work. I can front the bill to get all the work done, and then you reimburse me at closing, and I'll give you a discount on your first 2 listings that you list with me." And he's like, "Nah, I got." He's like, "All right, well, send me a proposal." So I sent him a proposal, and sure enough, 4 days later, he calls me. He's like, "Man," he's like, "You're confident, huh? You're cocky too." I was like, "Yeah, I know what I'm doing." I was like, "I'm the best. I'm the best at this."
Yep.
And sure enough, man, he gave me both listings, and then he gave me 2 other ones, actually 3 other ones too. So it actually worked out. But I got those through being proactive. Yeah.
How important is it to be confident in yourself?
I think it's very important. I think it's very important to be confident in what your ability is, and even sometimes I guess like even if you don't know everything that you're doing, I think if you're genuine, but you can show some confidence too, and if you don't know the answer to a certain thing, just be honest, but still be confident. I think confidence goes a long ways.
How do you feel about humility versus confidence? Like, do you think that humility is important in your business life and your personal life, or only in your personal life? Like, how do you see that?
So I think it's important as well too, because you don't want to sound like you're unbreakable.
Yeah.
I think all of us have been humbled at some point or another in our lives, and there's times even nowadays when I'm humbled in my real estate career too. So I think if you got to have some humility too. In this business, you can't just be like, "Oh no, nothing phases me, nothing can stop me," because we all go through our ups and downs in this business.
Yeah, eventually something's gonna humble you, but I think that the important lesson in that is not allowing it to keep you down. Just bounce back.
Yeah,
get that confidence back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we touched on some quote unquote untraditional ways to sell real estate, right? Foreclosures, short sales, REOs, stuff like that. How important is it, do you think, for an agent to learn how to deal with these niches?
Well, I don't think I don't think that it's super important that they know how to work these niches. I think it's important that they know like what happens when a homeowner gets behind on their payment, because they might have a situation where they come across where they can help out one of their past clients. So I don't think it's necessarily like super important that they specialize in these niches, because it is a little bit different. A lot of these people, it's not like the average seller is gonna, "Hey, I want to call you because I want to sell my house." Some of these sellers that are in these type of distress situations, they got some life-altering events that are going on in their life, and sometimes they'll ghost you, sometimes they'll disappear on you, sometimes they'll go AWOL for a couple of days. I mean, there's a lot of things that I've seen happen. It does take, to me, a lot more work, a lot more patience. So I don't necessarily think that it's important that they know all the details about these niches, but I think it's important that they know what's happening, what's happening, and how the best they can help a seller out if they're going through something like this, or maybe refer it out to someone who knows a lot about it, like
expert
myself.
In the field. Yeah. And those are some of the services, obviously, that you offer at Megastar, right? There's some of the guidance and the coaching that you're able to offer at Megastar.
Yeah, and that's so like for me, I've shown a few agents who wanted to learn about it, and it's been nice to see, like even this year I've had like 3 or 4 houses that I've been inside the living room and I didn't get the listing. Another agent, inside the office got it, which is fine with me because it's staying in house, but that goes to show that, yeah, I might be the most experienced agent in the brokerage doing that, but sometimes I'm not going to click with a client. Maybe a seller just had a wife pass away, and now he's behind on the payment, and when he sells, he doesn't want to look at my face. He wants to look at a female, and that's just simply how sometimes business is, and so I respect that, and I've seen that happen a lot, and I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I'm just happy that they were able to take a few of our trainings and kind of delve deep into it, so they kind of get a better understanding of it. And I'm happy that they've been able to make some commissions through some of these foreclosure properties. And yeah, maybe I didn't get it, but they got it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Well, it sounds like what you're teaching is being practiced by your agents in your office, so that should be a good thing as well. And I think another lesson in that is that people really go with whoever they feel most comfortable with for whatever reason.
Yes.
Their perception or their situation is reality, and so they want to work with whoever they feel comfortable
Exactly.
with. So I think that's a big takeaway for anybody starting in the industry is it doesn't matter how old you look or how young you look, nothing.
Or even how experienced sometimes you are.
Right, or not.
Yeah.
Right? It all depends on people's comfort level and how comfortable you make them feel. So now I'd like to kind of shift into, as we kind of wrap up this interview, into mindset. And obviously you've had a lot of experience in this industry, right? It sounds like you've owned a couple businesses. Do you want to touch on the type of businesses that you've worked in?
Sure, yeah. I think back in the day, like in 2004 or 5, I was a co-owner of a mortgage company with my brother. And we had all that up until like 2008. And
when everything went down.
When everything went down.
Yeah.
I also had an insurance agency, and then I also had a carpet cleaning business. So I bought a truck mount for all the cleaning equipment. So there was clients that I would sell them houses. They'd buy with me, and then a couple of days later, I'm showing up in the van cleaning their carpet. So it's just, and they respected the work ethic. They respected that hustle.
For sure.
I did that business for a while until I just got fed up with all the mechanical issues and the cold and some of the pipes freezing up and.
Yep.
But then probably the biggest business that I got into that almost kind of made me kind of put a stop to my real estate business, or I started doing real estate maybe 30% of my time. I got into the cannabis industry in 2009 with my brother and another partner, and that business did definitely teach me a lot. I would say that of all the businesses I've ever been involved in, by far, it's the hardest business that I've been involved in. There's a lot of tedious work that goes on to it. There's also a lot of, regulatory issues, compliance and testing, and just dealing with a lot of employees, man. It becomes stressful, and just kind of dealing in a business that you don't know, like one day it could be there and the next day it could be taken away from you. And then the amount of money that goes into running one of those operations. I mean, like the amount of money that we had to put in just to get into it. So like I was doing well in real estate, and I was pumping my real estate money into my cannabis industry. And I'm like, when I got into the cannabis industry and we got our first license for our dispensary, like it was one of the greatest feelings in the world for me. And I was like, I'm a made millionaire. Like I'll be a millionaire, like hands down, and that was always in my head. And then it didn't necessarily work out like that. Like the first 2-3 years were awesome, but then some of the laws changed, and the dispensary that we had could only go medical, and because we were so close to George Washington High School, so we couldn't go recreational. And so as things started shifting from medical to rec, our business started going down, so we could only sell to people who had a red card. And so to me, like the writing was on the wall that I had to get out of the business. And then even that in itself took a long time. It took us like 2 years to sell one of our licenses and close on it. And it was a struggle, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a struggle, not just for myself, but for my family, for my brother. It was a long roller coaster ride, and there was some nice hills that we went up through, but a lot of it was a lot of lost money, and so I came to the realization that I was making really good money in real estate, and I was throwing that money back into the cannabis industry that I would never ever see again.
And losing that money over
and
here.
losing that money. And so
you knew which one your main vehicle was.
Yeah, so when I basically in 2017 it was I realized that, you know, real estate's where it's at, and that's all I wanted to do. That I wasn't going to invest in any other businesses, that I just wanted to concentrate on any business that had to do with real estate. And I think that's when I really started taking off, because I started focusing my energy all into my real estate business. And that's sure enough, like a week and a half later, after I got out of the cannabis industry, it was only a temporary get out because I had to come back for family issues. But that's when I landed my biggest real estate project deal that I ever did. It was a 5-year project, but it was probably my biggest deal I ever
Is that
did.
the wholesale deal with the?
It was a commercial deal that we created a junior lien position on it.
Right.
So we were all in it for like 750, and I sold it for 1.45 million.
Nice.
So it was a great deal, but that I landed that deal a week and a half after I got out of the cannabis industry.
So it's kind of like your confirmation that you have no business in the cannabis industry.
No,
This is where you need to be at.
I had no. I mean, it was just. I think I rode that wave of the cannabis industry, thinking that eventually it would get better. Eventually, and we all have that pride, you know, that we're strong workers, we're intelligent, we're gonna make things happen,
yeah.
you know, and eventually it's gonna get better. But you know, at one point I just said, you know what, I'm gonna cut my losses, and I'm gonna focus on what allowed me to invest in all these other businesses. And then I also came into the realization that I didn't want to do all these other things.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to do this carpet cleaning. I didn't want to do insurance. I remember at one point I invested with a few other people on a tax business. You know, I just came to a realization. I mean, there's other people that can actually do 4 or 5 businesses at a time. I just came to a realization that I just wanted to do real estate, and I wanted to do whatever avenues I could do through real estate. I didn't want to do anything else though, and that's when I realized that, you know, hey, I'm just going to do real estate. This is all I'm going to focus on. And, you know, and I started seeing, you know, I basically, to me, the way I looked at it when I was in the cannabis industry, I had a hole in my pocket. Yeah. You know, I remember one day, you know, I got a call. Hey, man, they're about to shut off your Excel bill at your warehouse facility where you have your plants. You got to come up with $55,000. Boom. Wire $55,000. Hey, you know, you just got a few employees who are doing a lawsuit. So got to get a lawyer, got to get this, you know, there's just always something going on. So I had a hole in my pocket. Yep. And so once I got out of that, I didn't have a hole in my pocket, you know, and so things just started, you know, smoothing out, and I was able to build some capital.
Well, it sounds like there was some valuable lessons that you learned in that, though. Oh, yeah. You were able to, you know, manage a business, and so that probably spilling over to your brokerage and what you're doing now.
So one of the things that I learned, I was with the employees, I was always able to work with the employees. The employees saw that I would trim the plants, that I would bud tend, that I was, you know, packaging things. I wasn't just an owner who would just come in and say, hey, what are you doing? Oh, how's the numbers?
Micromanaging.
And then I'm out.
Leading by example.
And then I'm out. You know, my way of leading was, hey, I'm going to go to work with you. You know, I'm going to go trim with you. I'm going to go package things with you. I'm going to go ahead and do some marketing. I'm going to go ahead and be the bud tender, you know. So I was wearing different hats, and I didn't care because I just wanted to see the company succeed, and I was willing to wear whatever hat they needed me at that day. And I think the employees saw that. The employees saw that I had that type of leadership. I wasn't the rah guy, you know. That
you got to do it.
You know, I would just do it. I would just do it. And
well, your employees want to see that.
Yeah,
you know?
So I was willing to get my hands dirty.
Right.
And at the same time, man, like, to me, my time was important. You know, when I was working in the cannabis industry, I think I would start sometimes 5:30, 6 in the morning, and then I'd be done by 12. By 12:30, I was home showering because I didn't like smelling like cannabis, and then boom, by 1 o'clock, I was realtor. And so, you know, I was realtor till like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and that was Monday through Friday for at least 5, 6 years, 7 years, you know. And so, my thing was, I was so efficient with my time that I wanted to do my cannabis work early, get it done with, so that I could get really back to the office to do what I love to do, which is real estate. But once I came to that decision that we weren't going to go anywhere with the cannabis industry, that it was just a loss. We lost over $1 million in that business. And so
over the course of that time?
Yeah, over the course of time, whether we lost that in cash, in equity in properties, because we had a lot of things like tied into properties. Once I realized that, we're taking this loss one way or the other, the sooner that I can get back into focusing just 100% on real estate was going to be the best for me. 100%. And I think that's what happened.
100%. So you're an investor yourself. You think like an investor. You just touched on how in the course of having the cannabis business, how you mitigated your losses and you cut your losses. That's something that comes from an investor, right? That's an investment mindset. Yeah. So I help a lot of investor clients myself in the real estate space. What are some of the asset classes you think that investors should be investing in when it comes to real estate?
I think they need to first kind of see what they like. There's people that want to have like a lot of rentals. There's people that want to have a lot of Airbnbs, and then there's people that want like commercial properties, and there's some people that want to do like fixing, flipping. And so it just kind of depends on what your strategy is and what your personal taste is. I remember I had a client who came into me like 6-8 years ago and said, I want to do fixing and flipping. And man, for like 3-4 months, we couldn't find them anything. And eventually I found them a property that the listing agent happened to be a female that I dated in high school. And they had multiple offers. And I was able to tell her, hey, we didn't end in bad terms. We're still cool. But can you tell me where I need to be so we can win this? And so we wanted, but she wanted to be a fix and flipper. Then you have other clients who, want to have multi-units and they want to have that big mortgage and want to deal with a lot of tenants and stuff like that. It just kind of depends on what you're willing to do. I know what I'm comfortable with or what I like to invest in, but everyone's different. Some people want to build, they want to have, some people you'll hear some people, hey, I want to own 200 doors. That means that they want to have some
apartment buildings,
commercial, and so that's
equity.
Equity in that. So there's a lot of people who like that. It just all depends, to be honest with you.
100%. Awesome, man. So I just like to finish off with the mindset stuff. Obviously, you been in the game for a while. You've owned a couple businesses. You have a lot of experience in many different areas. What are the most valuable lessons you've learned in this whole time in the real estate industry?
Man, I think one of the most valuable lessons when it comes down to mindset is you can't get too high or too low when you're in this business. Even like when you're closing 6, 8, 10 deals in a month, don't get too high on that. Or if you go through a month or 2 or 3 where you don't close the deal, don't get too low. I mean, I think keep that mindset of consistency. I think if you're always prospecting this business and you're consistent with your prospecting, you're actually, eventually the deals are going to start coming. They're going to start landing. But you gotta put your mindset that you gotta go work for it. Nothing's going to come handed to you. I like working for everything that I have. I like waking up early. I like going to the gym early. Actually, you saw I was leaving today and you were coming in. And I got in a little.
Young guy.
I got in a little late too. So, but I think having that consistency, that determination, working with a purpose, and having that mindset that my mindset is like I ain't got nothing. Like every day I wake up in the morning, I'm like, man, like today's a new day. It's a fresh start. Yesterday could have sucked or could have been excellent, but today, I'm at 0.
Right.
And so how am I going to make this an A+ day? What am I going to do? And for me, one of the first things that I have to like knock off my to-do list is my personal stuff. Like I need to work out. I need to get to the gym. Those are some of the things that I've been doing since I've been 14 years old. And I'm never going to stop that. Even when I had surgeries, I go to the gym in crutches. There's no excuse. And so for me, having that mindset that that I'm basically starting all over every single day. Like I like telling myself that I ain't got nothing, that I'm poor. I have 2 vehicles. I have one nice one that I got this year, and then I have a Lexus too. And sometimes I prefer driving the Lexus because I feel like not wealthy or that I haven't made it. And
so that's why wealthy people do that. Like they keep their beater car and they just drive their beater car.
Yeah,
like just to remind themselves of where they come from.
it's just something that kind of works in a weird way with me. Sometimes when I'm driving the nice vehicle, like, not that I get complacent or anything like that, and I like it because, you know, when I take my daughters out, they complain when I drive the Lexus. They want the Mercedes, and I'm like, no, you know, today the Mercedes is at home. But I think for me personally, it does work. It kind of like makes me think that, you know, I need to come up, you know, and today, every day, I need to have a come up, you know, and so that's kind of how I look at things, and it just works for me, you know. But I think mindset, in business, 80 to 90% of it is mindset, you know, because if your mind ain't right, I mean, you might have a good day or so, you know, luckily, but if your mindset ain't right, you're not going to be consistently doing well. And I think you have to have your mindset pretty sharp, you know, pretty dedicated to what your goals are. And you got to be, I tell people to stay consistent. You know, I see so many people, like, what irritates me too is, like, I see a lot of people do like these 90-day challenges, 30-day this, and day 1, day 2, and then they get to day 30, and then they complete it, and then after that, they're back to being their same thing. I'm like, nah, man, this is life. Like, do this consistency for life. You know, and I'll tell you this, like, when it comes down to working out in the gym, I probably in my lifetime, the most I've gone without working out or doing some type of physical activity, maybe like 5-7 days was like the most stretch that I've gone without doing something, and that had to be either because I went on a trip or something. But like for me, that's part of my life.
I'm the same way.
So I think people, you know, they need to get their mind right before they try to make all these huge goals and accomplishments. If your mind ain't right, you're not gonna do what you want to accomplish.
100%. Outside of the gym, what else do you do to keep your mind right?
So I like to read. I like to read books. Obviously, I play a lot of sports. I spend time with my daughters, my family. You know, I like to walk around, go hiking, you know, travel. And I also like to cook.
I didn't know you got down.
Yeah, I like to cook too.
Chef
I like to
Cesar.
grill.
All right.
You know, I like to try making some of I'm from Peru, so there's a lot of Peruvian dishes that I like. And, you know, my mom, when I was 18 years old, she taught me how to cook. And then I used to work at my aunt's restaurant. I used to be called Los Cabos. And I would go in there, and I would go while the cooks were making the food. I'd sit there and watch what they were making and have them teach me. And then I was always taking care of my cooks, man. So if I had a good day of making tips, I'd give them $20, $5, $10, and that was the only way they're doing that because, you know, my success depended on them, on they, you know, getting the food out in good quality and a timely manner too. So I knew that. I knew that, you know, taking care of the people that work for you was important, you know. So I learned that at a very young age. Yeah, those are some of the things that I like to do.
One of the things I do appreciate about Megastar is the splits, man. So now I see where it comes from.
Yeah.
The 95-5 split, it comes from the tips when you were working at.
Yeah, you know, I think you know, one thing too is like if you ever have people that work for you, you need to take care of them. You know, you need to pay them. You know, sometimes you can always have like a disagreement about certain amounts, but as long as you take care of the people that are working for you, you know, the last thing you want is like a disgruntled employee, and because I've seen that happen in different businesses that I've been involved in. And you want to take care of the people that are actually doing well and helping you grow, and you know that they deserve it too, you know. But obviously, if it's someone who just came in and now they're asking for the world, and that's where you got to draw that line. But I definitely feel very strong about, first and foremost, you know, paying contractors that are doing work for you, paying them in a timely manner, things of that nature. You know, one of the things that happened to me in one of my first real estate companies that I worked for is, I remember I closed the deal, and I'd come in because there wasn't CDAs or commission disbursement agreements back then. You know, I'd bring in the check from the closing, give it to my managing broker, and he's like, all right, have your check here in a couple of days. Come back in a couple of days. Oh, I forgot my checkbook. Come back a week later. Oh, you know what? Today I'm sick. It's not a good time. So I knew what was going on. Basically, the commission check that I had just gave him a couple weeks ago, he was using it to pay some of his bills and stuff like that. And so I know eventually that it would catch up, and then sooner or later there would be a check that I wouldn't be able to get paid on. So I always feel like, anybody who's working, they want to be paid in a timely manner, and they also want to be paid for their time or the work that they're doing. And I think it's very important that, people get paid.
100%. Two more questions for you. If you go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
To invest earlier, save earlier. I mean, that would be, I don't know how many thousands of dollars I spent whining and dining.
Yeah.
At the club, bottles, liquor.
Yeah.
I remember.
This is a good talk right here.
Taking, because at a lot of my friends, even when I was younger, when I was working at Remax, I had more income. I was a little more successful. And I remember one trip, I took two of my friends out and we went to Peru, went to Colombia. I paid for everything. It was like $14,000-$15,000 just like that.
Are
in
they
2
still
weeks.
your friends?
Yeah, one of them's still kind of my friends. The other one's kind of not, But it was just, those are learning lessons, man.
No
and like all the money that that I just blew. I blew through it, just spending on dumb things. Like I remember, I bought a new house. I had a nice deck, and I went to Cal Spas. It was right on the I-25, and in my mind, I was going to spend $3,000 to go buy a nice little hot tub. But then I saw a hot tub that had like a waterfall, and it fit like 6 people. And I was like, oh man, that's 9 G's. I was like, I want that one. And, this is like early 2000, and so I'm like, and I thought of everything in closings. I was like, oh, that's just 1.5 closings. It's not a problem. And then that hot tub, I
have that
use
under
it.
contract right now.
Yeah.
Or I'm not saying I do right now, but that's probably what was going through your mind. It's like, I'll pay it off.
Yeah, and so those are some of the things that I regret when I was younger, that if I should have saved, that I should have invested. And I wish I would tell myself, get into the investment side of real estate a lot earlier than, your late 30s or whatnot, So that's one thing that I would definitely tell my real estate self,
100%. What are your predictions for the future of the real estate industry? Where do you think everything is headed?
Well, I think values in Colorado are still going to keep going up. I don't think we're going to ever see 2008, 2007, where prices come down significantly. I think there's a lot of things that will prevent that from happening. You definitely can see that maybe if there is a little downturn where prices come down a little bit, it won't be too much. But I definitely still feel like Colorado is a great state to live in. There's a lot of great qualities here, a lot of great people. We just have to see where the interest rates go. But I think all in all, as far as for a real estate agent, it just comes down to you. It's like, how bad do you want it? What are you going to be doing on a daily basis to succeed? And I just feel like we're seeing still a lot of growth here in the state. You got that new project going on in there by Ball Arena that's going to be happening.
That's right.
So, traffic, man, it kind of scares me.
You got to do something about that.
Yeah,
sure.
That kind of scares me a little bit. But other than that, I still feel like, real estate definitely is going to be here. There's definitely going to be a lot of business to take advantage of. I started in 1998. I'm still here, still selling real estate. I don't think I'm going away here anytime soon. So maybe it'll be maybe in the future for myself, getting into luxury or getting into some more commercial deals. This year in particular, I haven't done as many commercial deals as I did last year. But I think those are some of the things that I kind of didn't focus too much on commercial this year. And maybe next year I'm going to try to focus a little bit more. But I definitely think, there's huge opportunity here in this state to be a real estate agent or an investor. It just you got to learn, what you want to focus on, and go for it. And the beauty of it right now is that there's so much education out there. There's YouTube. There's people on Instagram showing what they're doing. We didn't have that back then. There was the YouTube didn't exist where someone's telling me how to wholesale, how to fix and flip, how to Airbnb. There wasn't any of that. So now it's just the information is a lot more accessible. So I think there's no excuse. I'll share this with you. I know there's a young agent who came into our brokerage, and he's on his. Here he did 2 flips already. He's 18, and I think he's at CU Denver. And I think on his first flip, he might have made like 15 or so on the condo. I think on his second flip, he he took in a good over 55, 60,000.
Nice.
Which, man, for an 18-year-old,
Yeah.
you know, that's the beauty of what's out there, that you can
Right.
actually accomplish.
Yep.
You know, with all the information that's out there. Obviously, he had some help too. His family helped him out as well. But I think, you know, there's no excuse. And if you're out there, start early, start young,
Mm-hmm.
start getting educated on some of the things you can do in real estate. You know, learn from other people who are actually doing it, get some mentors. You know, if you got to pay a little bit, pay a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, the younger you can start, the better.
100%. So overall, very healthy market here in Denver to either invest, be a real estate agent. You see that you think that the prices are going to hold pretty steady here in Denver. What are some of the services that Megastar Realty can offer a client?
Yeah, so our brokerage is kind of like a hybrid brokerage, I would say. We do your traditional real estate, which is representing first-time home buyers, people who are needing to downsize, or people who need to upgrade and need a bigger house. We also represent a lot of sellers who are moving out of state, who are relocating. We also represent a lot of divorce cases. And then we also do a lot of foreclosures, probate as well. So people who have lost a loved one, so we can guide them through the whole probate process. We also work with a lot of investors. I'd say out of like the 68 agents that we have, I'd say about 22 of the agents are either flippers or investors themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of agents who are also working with a lot of investor clients. We also specialize in getting a lot of off-market deals, so houses that don't even touch the MLS, because you have a lot of business transacting on the MLS, and then you have a lot of business like underground transacting off-market,
Mm-hmm.
in which we, you know, have some agents who are successful in obtaining those deals, and you know, a lot of these deals we're selling in-house. So we can definitely offer investors some good properties for them to pick up to start becoming investors. We're also starting to do a lot of some luxury properties. We have some agents kind of diving into that. I think those are one of the sectors in real estate that we're gonna try to get a stronger market hold of here in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have some agents also doing some commercial real estate. So I don't think we're where we need to be in those two sectors just yet, but I think those are something that we're working towards.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as when it comes to like first-time home buyers, I-10 buyers, regular standard listings, investors, fix and flips,
Mm-hmm.
like we got it covered there because of the amount of transactions that we're doing with fix and flippers, investors. I think we're doing fairly well in those. So I think there's two other sectors that we want to improve on, and I think that's what we can offer to the general public. So if you're an investor and you want to get into the investment side of real estate, I think talking to one of our agents is a good way to start.
100%. What can an agent get with partnering with you at Megastar?
So if they partner with us, what we want to be able to help them understand is obviously the foreclosure side of the business, the probate side of the business, the off markets, definitely being able to talk to some of the other agents that are specializing through their social media, seeing some of the things that they're doing. And then also I pay a lot of systems that you can use to generate lists, to generate phone numbers, to generate contacts, emails. And that way, you have to go out and basically do the work, because I'm not going to create a list and cold call 500 numbers and say, here's 10 leads, because we're all producing.
100%.
So I think, those are some of the things that we can offer, and then a lot of experience too. I'm a type of person that I like answering my phone and my text messages. So I never tell agents that join our brokerage, hey, don't call me after a certain amount of time. You call me whenever. Call me Saturday or Sunday. Call me in the evenings. Text me. I'll eventually get to your question. But I want to be available to people who have questions. I don't know it all, but I do know a good amount. And if I don't have the answer, I'll try to get the answer for you. But we want to see people grow. I think I'd say about 20% of the agents are probably over six-figure income agents. I've seen a lot of agents, increase their sales production, and and ultimately, as far as an agent, what I really try to tell them is that, hey, you can do traditional real estate too, but once you become an investor, apart from just being an agent, you're gonna see your income grow. And ultimately, I want to see our agents, most of our agents, become investors, because I think that's how I've seen my income grow. And so I think that's a good way to learn the business too, and become an investor. Because when I was getting into real estate, or my first couple of years, I always saw like an investor as someone who's like in their 60s or 70s or 55 and who had a lot of money anymore. And now you can be an 18-year-old investor.
100%.
You can be a 20-year-old investor, and so those are the things that I want to teach people and show that it can be done.
I think especially for our community, because we're kind of behind when it comes to this stuff. We didn't have this stuff growing up. I'm first generation, you're first generation. So I think that for me also, it's important for me to teach and guide my community to do those types of things. So super dope, man. How can people reach out to you or Megastar? Obviously, if you're interested in Megastar and you're watching this, I'm more than happy to give you more information. Reach out to me. But how can people find Megastar?
Yeah, probably me personally, you can find me on my Instagram page. It's Cesar.Reyes.co, and then my telephone numbers, 303-523-0789. That's 303-523-0789. And we'd love to chat it up with you and talk real estate and see how we can help each other grow.
100%. Right on, brother. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for
thank you, Ruben, for having me here.
Yes, sir. All right.
All right.
Man, killed it. Good job.
Thank you. It's a nice little setup, man.
It was
good.
It was good.
Yeah.
It's like an hour and a half.
It was hard for me to not jump in and have conversation with you guys, so it was good.
We'll touch base with Charlie so he can chop it up and we can send over some footage to you.
Okay.
So that you guys can post it.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for having me.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, Diamond. Nice seeing you.
Welcome.
Yep.
See you soon.
I'm gonna stick around, bro, because
Yep.
I gotta record some more content.
All right, man.
So.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Help yourself.
So now I'm gonna do the one-on-one
Cool.
here.
Let me just stop these files and we'll start again.